One of the things that they did recently was release an app for the iPad, finally, Instagram. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't. He didn't
crazy.
mention it. He didn't mention it in the interview.
They didn't mention it. This was something kind of like a side mention thing a couple weeks ago, just on, just general tech news and things like that. And people were like, oh, well, they finally, like literally the iPad and Instagram were released the same year. Did you know that?
No.
They were released the same year. They've never had an iPad app. And so this year they finally do it. But guess what they do on iPad? When you open up the app, it opens up to Reels. And people started to notice that in India, they were also doing that in the main Instagram app. So he says, the interviewer says in the interview, Instagram app is evolving as well. That was a big part of our conversation when we talked last. I think a lot of people still think of Instagram as this feed of beautiful curated photos and videos. Maybe that's an older way of thinking about it. You're leaning hard into this newer version of Instagram. Pay attention to this, which is DMs, stories, Reels. DMs, stories, Reels. That's what he says. This is the interviewer. Walk us through a little bit about what your priorities are with Instagram right now. He said, and Adam says, it's certainly changing. All the growth in Instagram over the last 5 years or more has come from DMs and Reels and recommendations and stories. But we started out as this feed of hyper-saturated photos, glossy landscapes. You call it you can all picture the aesthetic. And that's not how people use Instagram anymore. Our biggest risk is that the world evolves and we don't keep up and we just become irrelevant. If we hadn't built DMs and stories and Reels, you wouldn't be interviewing me on stage today. We wouldn't be relevant enough to show up at Screen Time, which is the name of the event. But moving forward is also tricky. So people get frustrated when they have an experience that they use for half an hour a day and someone comes and changes without asking them. So it's a balance, but we have to, because if we didn't, we would be in trouble. This is a response to that test that they're doing in India, where they're literally saying you open up Instagram and instead of going to the home feed, it goes to the Reels feed, and it goes and you swipe right up and you're into it. And so I'm curious about what your thoughts are about DM stories, Reels, the changes on Instagram with that regard, because geez, that could be a game changer for some people. It could also be completely disruptive for other people.
What I respect about Adam Mosseri is the fact that he was willing to talk about the significance of TikTok, because that's not typical. Most platforms that want to talk about their competition for whatever dumb reason, but he like at least acknowledged TikTok and the fact that they did Reels. He didn't like directly correlate the two, but it's pretty obvious. Yeah. But what's revealing what he's saying is the fact that they had to do Reels because of TikTok. Yeah. That's not innovation. That's just like keeping up with the competition.
Like you said, copycat.
Okay, so DMs, stories and Reels, like what is there to talk about there? There's nothing, right? Yeah. That going back to my point, like there is a kid in high school. There is some like guy in his basement. I'm like starting to get weirdly like into like, I don't know, so like weird parts of the world, but there's people out there that aren't on stages, that are doing really cool things we don't know about. That's like what we should be paying attention to. So when he's talking about these things, for me, it's like, this was funny. You're like, oh, you should really listen to this. I listened to the whole thing. I'm like laying down, trying to put my girl down to bed, right? Because she can't sleep without me like being in the room with her. There wasn't anything that I was like, whoa, this is like crazy. It's just like a marketing, messaging thing for him, about. And that's what's respectable about him. He's willing to go out there, talk to crowds, answer questions. He's come to Seattle. He's done all these different creator events. But the foundation is the same thing. It's just a platform trying to keep up with the times. Yeah, to his credit, they made a good, smart move, and they forced Reels, right? Like now you have to go into Reels as you're swiping through. That's what he's saying in India and these other places. But for me, I'm like, okay, actually there was one thing. I don't know if we're going to talk about this, but him answering the question about TV.
That's the next thing. Let me just make the case really quick about why it is worth it to listen to things like this with people like him. Because at the end of it, first of all, fundamentally, I agree with you. The most important thing is the things like we talked about at the beginning of this show, with Mark Cuban doing something totally random that nobody expected. Those are the things you can learn from as a creative. But you have to remember that back in the day, the gatekeeper was the person who was programming the TV station, or the studio executive who greenlit one movie versus the other. Nowadays, those people are the people who are running these platforms. Now, the look of that is a little bit different than before. They're not saying, Benji, you can't upload this video. Although sometimes they are, right? They're literally taking down videos, right? They're not saying, oh, this is the thing I think is going to be successful, so we're going to promote this. They're letting the algorithm do some of that. But the changes that they're making fundamentally reshape how creators behave in the creator economy, right? Overall, right? And so the set of balances that he's making, there are lots of creators out there that are probably listening to the show that make their living going and posting videos on Instagram partially, right? And maybe if you're like Kim Kardashian or I don't know, so any of those kind of old-fashioned like Instagram influencers, maybe the original feed going away is something that's detrimental to your business because that's what you know how to operate, right? But when it comes to Reels, maybe you're not as successful there, right? And so listening to these people is kind of like listening to the modern Greek gods of our time in the sense that they are the cabal of people who are very powerful that shape the world that we all play in, right? So every once in a while, Zeus is going to throw down a lightning bolt and it's going to strike somebody. And guess what? You know, they're unlucky for that for whatever reason. And so because they have so much power, it's worth looking at the shape of things that way you know in the future, well, geez, I'm not going to invest all my time going into Instagram at this point, right? In the old traditional feed because it looks like they're going to go all in on Reels, right? And so that's my case for why it's worth listening to. And, you know, I think beyond that, ultimately, at the end of the day, I do agree with you, which is that when you look at the way other people are behaving, that those are the ideas that you can pull into your own business and have it be successful.
Let me give you a food analogy, okay?
Yeah.
In restaurants. He is like the ultimate pizza maker in a pizza town that everyone loves pizza and everyone's trying to start a pizza business. And think about a city that just it has been like obsessed and addicted to pizza for the last 10 years. And you know this guy runs one of the biggest like pizza platforms, I guess you could say. And he's like, I'm going to be answering questions and I'm going to give you some juicy takes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. He is going to tell you things that you need to know. As creators who use Instagram, it's good to know, hey, maybe we should prioritize our time for Reels, stories, and DMs, which, by the way, I've been doing, right?
Know.
So again, not because he said it in an interview now, it's actually because creators told me that a long time ago, or I noticed it in my thing. I think I even told you a few years ago, I said, you know, the power of DMs right now?
Yeah.
When you DM somebody, your Reels shows up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, like that wasn't because they said anything. It's because literally there was a correlation from my actions and also other creators also verified it, okay?
Okay, but let me push back again because the thing that he says in here that is something that's going to change it for you is that he says it's a balance. Actually, the home feed and the Reels feed are exactly the same. They both have videos, they both have photos, and you can DM from both of them, right? But what he did also say is that the difference is how the algorithm recommends things in them. In the home feed, your Reels show up on the home feed because you DM them, because the home feed is like old-fashioned social networking, Facebook, Instagram, where the people you follow and the people you're connecting with show up. The Reels feed, that's not true. That's what he said. It's much less of that. So you doing the DM meta is not as useful when they increase the prevalence of the Reels feed.
I love that you're finishing my analogy for me, and it's perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, he's just talking about pizzas because everyone's into pizzas. And guess what? He has this new like size, maybe a different shape, a different like, you know, dough making method or whatever, okay? Pizza. Everyone's into pizza. He's talking about the secrets of pizza, all that. There's a guy on the outskirts of town that's freaking banging out amazing cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Guess what? Like, people are like secretly over pizzas, or they're still like eating it because that's what everybody wants to do and that's what they're normally doing and that's what is available to them. But there's a guy on the outskirts, right? Like you have to go outside of town to go to this guy, and he's making cheeseburgers out of his garage. I know it sounds dirty, but like there are like cheeseburger shops that do
They're
this.
grilling, yeah.
Right? In Vancouver, I think there's a guy that does pop-up cheeseburger stands, okay? And he has a line out the door down the street.
And they're coming from Pizza Town.
And Adam, talking about pizza over there, has no clue what the hell is going on. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if one day Adam will be on stage talking about cheeseburgers one day. So my point is, yes, I agree with you. I was the one that's been always advocating to listen to what the platforms are doing, because whatever they're trying to push is what is going to give you a little bit of love on the algorithm side. Yeah. So I always say this with YouTube. When they release a new tool or there's this new function, or they just make a blog post say, this is our priority, definitely listen to it. Like right now, what are we trying to do more of? Live streaming. Judy did 3 lives in one day just because there was so many glitches. Guess what? Got more views overall in those 3 than she would have editing a video.
I had no idea.
I'm totally on the same page. But why I bring up the guy on the outskirts of town doing cheeseburger? Because say you're that guy that was like going to start a pizza shop. So you're listening to this guy give pizza secrets. But then this other guy on the outskirts of town has a line out the door every single time. Well, man, it's like, what if I start a cheeseburger spot? This guy's doing a cheeseburger stand. What if I just did like a stand over here in the middle of Pizza Town? I'm more interested in that. That's why, that's the point of this podcast. I want to learn what is the next thing after pizza. So in this case, it's the cheeseburger. Now, the guy making the cheeseburger is too damn busy to even care about talking to somebody or get interviewed or even like become a coach. But guess what? You can learn a lot from that guy. And so the easiest thing to do is replicate that. Replicate what the new thing is. This is why we're paying attention to AI and all that kind of stuff.